Now that Korea's largest conglomerate has made a major commitment to the president's vision of a creative economy, we explore some concrete examples of this initiative to create new growth engines.
The idea of converging science and technology with other industries to create more jobs and economic activity can come across as a complex or vague idea to some. So Yoo Li-an joins us now to help us better understand the concept. Welcome.
Good evening.
Now, Lian, a large portion of President Park's creative economy involves new businesses in the form of startups. Now, what are some of the issues here?
So supporting startups is definitely high on the government's economic agenda. So I met some young entrepreneurs to see what kind of businesses they're getting into and also what kind of hardships they're facing. Take a look.
Unlock your screen to the left, 12 cents. To the right and look at an ad, 24 cents. This is an application that allows you to earn money by looking at ads, with which you can buy anything from a cup of coffee to movie tickets, or even pay off part of your phone bill. Boosted by its success in Korea, the company behind the application plans to launch it in 20 countries by next year. But 28-year-old co-founder Yoo Li-an says investors didn't see it that way at the beginning.
You guys will fail. We heard about more than 50 times. So we just started our business without investment.
Here's another startup, one that launched just last month. Pretzel is a so-called social gifting application where users can send gift packages with a click of a button.
The hardest part of doing a startup in Korea is finding talents, finding good talents. Most engineers, designers, who are the building blocks, really important building blocks of a startup, usually don't want to work at startups simply because they want stable salaries rather than creating new values.
The obstacles that the two founders faced, the negative sentiment and the sense of doubt, continue to be commonplace in Korea. And perhaps not surprisingly, the number of those in their 20s and 30s opening up startups has declined steadily over recent years to 11% as of 2012. But things may turn around as President Park Geun-hye has placed supporting startups as a priority in our economic agenda. The government's plans as of now are primarily about expanding funds to support startups and thereby creating more jobs. But the details are still to come.
Well, of course, failing is a part of the startup culture, but what is the government going to do to help foster a more supportive environment?
Well, experts say the government's plan to increase funding for startups and also to create a safety net for startups that fail comes at a much-needed time. And the details of those plans will be unveiled later this week. But they also say Korea's startup environment is perhaps too dependent on government funding. Listen to what Cho Ho-jung of the Hyundai Research Institute had to say.
What's lacking in Korea is the role of the private sector. Israel or Silicon Valley have well-established systems where the private sector makes all the key decisions. What's different in Korea is that the funding and other initiatives come from the government.
She also said the private sector not investing in startups and that the stigma against them is natural for a country like Korea. If you take a look at the economic environment in the past decade or so, Korea was hit by the Asian financial crisis back in 1997 and the financial crisis in 2008. So the country has been busy recovering. And in those recovery periods, job seekers tend to want steady employment in large companies rather than gambling on a startup. So in other words, Korea was and still is perhaps simply unprepared to create an environment where startups could flourish.
And I hear that, Lian, startups are not the only thing that you explored in terms of creative economy.
Right, that's right. So the next part of my series, I'll be looking into the convergence of science and technology with different sectors to create new products. And for that, I visited a place described by President Park Geun-hye as a good model of what a creative economy should look like. And finally, with information and communication technology set to play a central role in President Park's creative economy, the last part of my series will be on patents and the protection of new technologies.
All right, well, we look forward to those. Thanks so much for tonight's report.